Okay, so today I would like to talk about problem that the Japanese students have, most of the Japanese students have, uh, before they even start learning English language.
Okay.
So we will probably not even touch English language at all. And all the problems we're talking about today are basically three giant walls, like kabe. And I don't think most of people in Japan, and not only in Japan, basically Japanese who study English language anywhere in the world, especially in Japan, I don't think they realize they have this kind of issue with English language. So let me share some screen with you, so so we can talk specifics. Okay.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Hold on. Let me just share some screen here with you, and then we can we can see. Okay. I'm gonna just go to the beginning. Okay. So check this out. The first wall is your attitude. That's not even talking about English language. あなたの態度、あなたの、そうですね、なんか英語のことに対してあなたの態度。So your attitude towards English language. And the three things, you know, 機会、やる気、listening, opportunity, motivation, and listening. That's not three kabe. This is first kabe. This is the first wall. So let me shortly talk about this. People in Japan, they think opportunity is something that has to come to them.
Oh, yeah, I get it. Yeah.
They're not looking actively for opportunity. It's like, okay, I would like to have an opportunity to speak English, so I'm waiting. I'm here. Opportunity, please come to me. That's your attitude. That's a wrong attitude. The second thing is also people in Japan think about motivation, yaruki, as if kind of it's not related to human beings. It's like a part of nature, like a wind. You know, the wind is coming and going by and then disappearing. And I know that because when I talk to the Japanese students, they say very, very openly and without shame, they say, あ、やる気はない。
言う人いるね。
We don't in Western culture. It's not even English-speaking countries. But if you go to Europe, if you go to France, if you go to Poland, if you go to Spain, if you go to England, if you go to Italy, in Germany, Switzerland, anywhere outside of Japan in Western world, I'm not talking about Africa because the world is huge. I'm not talking about South America. I'm not talking about Africa or Asia or Middle East. But I'm talking about Western world, Europe, North America, Australia. When people say, "Oh, I don't have a motivation," they're ashamed.
Because it sounds like they're lazy.
No. Because motivation is something that you have to create, and it's like a whole, like you make a fire and you keep this fire safe, so nobody puts out the fire. You have this fire and you grow this fire. Right? So but it's something that we understand, it's in you. It's your responsibility. But people in Japan have a different concept of motivation. It's not related to people. So the Japanese students say, やる気はない。英語は勉強してますか？勉強したいけど、やる気はない。And they're fine. They're fine.
結局、日本人の生徒さんは、なんだろう、モチベーションは自分で作るものっていうよりは、外から来るときには来るし、来なかったら来ないみたいな感じで待ってる感じってこと？
外から来たら来る、じゃあ使えます。でも来なかったら、まあね、しょうがないんです。仕方がないんだったら。なので、私は運が悪い人なんですけど、モチベーションは、やる気は私の 方に来なかったから、しょうがないね。
だから私はモチベーションがないみたいな。
もちろん、これは、そう。その感想、その感じしてる。俺の意見、俺の経験、だけなんですけど、正直にハテルマから網走まで1億3000万日本人はそれぞれわからないけど、いやー、17年間経験によると、17年間日本の生徒さんたち、日本で英語を勉強してる、カナダでも英語を勉強してる日本の生徒さんたち協力して、いや、これは強すぎる、なんか日本の文化、社会的なパターン、なんか強すぎるパターンだから、コンセプトはここで文化のコンセプトは、日本のやる気、どういう意味、コンセプトと、カナダのような英語喋れるの国、やる気はどういう意味、どのようなコンセプト、180度逆です。So that's the second thing, that the Japanese look at the motivation completely different way. They look at the motivation as if, like I said, it's a wind. It's coming by me, next to me from the left side. And if I catch it, I have a yaruki, I have a motivation. If I don't catch it, I'm not ashamed because I missed the chance. I don't feel guilty. I don't feel, it's my responsibility. Pass. Too bad. We don't do that. Motivation is a different,
全然違うんだ。
very different animal. So that's the attitude. The Japanese attitude about opportunity. Opportunity needs to come to me. I'm here. Motivation has to come to me. I'm here. Please give me motivation. Please give me opportunity. I'm here. I'm waiting. ちょっと俺様、ちょっと私はなんか自己陶酔、自己中感じする。ちょっとこんな感じする。I'm not saying everybody, but it's a pattern. And look, we're talking about the first wall, the first kabe, and that's not even touching English language. This is just attitude.
So can I back to the opportunity? Like,
Sure.
I heard many Japanese are saying, I don't have opportunity to speak English. I don't have opportunity using the English. That's also the attitude too, right?
I'll give you one example because I want to go through everything.
Okay.
Through everything, maybe not quite fast, but just to wrap
Sure,
up
please.
And give everybody, sense of what the three walls are. So I'll give you one example, but if you want, we can make another podcast, and I have a lot of examples about the Japanese looking at the opportunity and motivation, and we didn't even get to listening. But yes, you're right. Yes, you're right. A lot of Japanese have this way of thinking. There are not many opportunities in Japan for me to speak English language. And this is, I'll say it in English and I'll say it in Japanese. So let's start with English. First of all, this is stereotype thinking, and this is not true. So it's very easy to debunk this stereotype. Number one, we are in 2024. We are in 21st century. You could say that 30 years ago, because 30 years ago there was no internet. Today, in 2024, you have an internet. And another argument the Japanese say is, I don't have foreigners to interact with, because Japan is shimaguni, right? Because Japan is island nation. I'm sorry, that argument is not also holding the water, because there are 198 countries on planet Earth, and guess what? 25% of like 46, 48 countries are island nation countries, not only Japan. And so 25% of the countries on planet Earth are shimaguni. That's not an argument. Second, Tokyo in 2024 has over 1 million foreigners.
Okay.
1 million foreigners, not travelers. 1 million foreigners living in Japan. So the example you are talking about, I can relate because I spoke the other day to one guy. I don't want to say, we'll record podcast about this later.
Sure.
But I talked to one guy just a few days ago, and he said exactly the same thing. He said, "Oh, I don't have an opportunity to speak English." And he's an adult professional working for some company, and he needs English to communicate at work. And I gave him the same arguments. I said, you have the internet right now. You can reach people across the world on your cell phone when you are sitting on Yamanote-sen. And in Yamanote-sen, you cannot speak aloud, you cannot call, but you can put your earplugs in your ear, and you can look at the screen of your Android phone or your iPhone, and everybody sleeps on Yamanote-sen. So and everybody study and watches and learns things on Yamanote-sen, and it's the same in Sakai, in Nagoya, in Umeda, in Osaka. It's the same across the whole Japan. So saying I don't have an opportunity to speak English in Japan in 2024, it's basically iwake, because it means I am here, I'm waking up in the morning in my house somewhere in Chiba-ken or in Saitama-ken, and I have to wake up in the morning at 7 a.m. because I'm commuting 1.5 an hour to get to Yamanote-sen, to Ikebukuro or Shinagawa or Shinjuku, and then I have to do norikae, and still I have to travel another 45 minutes, so I spent 1.5 an hour on transportation in the morning. Then I go to my work, and in my work I have a 1 hour break between 12 to 1:30 for lunch break, and then I have to work until 5 p.m. and then I have a nomihodai, and then I'm tired and I have to go back and do another 1.5 hour, and in that time I go back home, and in my day is finished. I don't have an opportunity to meet English speaking person in Tokyo. That's a day of average Japanese person, which means no foreign person met me, came to me actively since the morning, since I was going from from Tokorozawa to Seibu Ikebukuro to get to Ikebukuro, and then I was transferring to Yamanote. No foreigner, did kon kon kon, hi, gaijin desu, ちょっと自己紹介いいです。ちょっと英語が話したいですか? Especially in Japan, when talking to strangers means you are weirdo. Nobody in Japan speaks to strangers, even in Japan. And so if the gaijin speaks to you, everybody's like, oh. And so it's kind of like gyakusetsu. It's a huge contradiction. The Japanese want foreigners, please come and approach me. Make opportunity for me. That's what most of the Japanese are kind of daydreaming. Like they have this assumption, this illusion, this omoikomi, this genso, this illusion that I don't have an opportunity. No. Opportunity in Japanese point of view, it's something that they are waiting for, possibly waiting for. But opportunity in English culture, in English concept, is we make opportunities. We create chances to give ourselves opportunities. We search for opportunities. We're not waiting for opportunities.
自分からアプローチをして、その機会を作る、英語を話す機会を作るっていう態度でいなきゃいけないってことだよね。
その通りです。そう思います。なるほど。So that's just a short example, but yeah, I'm happy to talk about this, make another podcast and like give gazillion examples about Japanese students misunderstanding opportunity or motivation. Let's go to listening, okay?
Yes, please.
So listening is the same kind of taido problem, the same kind of kabe, the wall problem before even touching English language. But listening, I wouldn't blame. I'm not blaming anything on anybody, but I'm blaming kind of opportunity and motivation on Japanese culture concept. Not on Japanese. I'm not sticking fingers, I'm not poking, I'm not jabbing Japanese people per se, saying that's your fault. I'm not doing this. I'm showing the difference between opportunity in Japan, what's the concept, and opportunity in Canada and Western world. We think of this differently. Motivation, what's the concept in Japan, and motivation in Canada, North America, Europe. We think differently about that. And then listening, I think the big problem, my experience, again, 17 years of teaching English language, both in Japan and in Canada, I would say listening, it's a big blame. It's a big problem of Japanese education specifically. And that's そうです。日本の文部科学省、日本の勉強し方、日本の教え方のコンセプト、なんか勉強っていうことはどういう意味ですか、日本のコンセプト。で、勉強は当たり前の、なんか日本のメガネ見たら当たり前のことは、教え方は、先生は黒板の前に何か説明する。もう生徒さんたちは勉強するはず、勉強するべきだったら、じゃあ、リスニングです。リスニングは勉強だよ。勉強でございます。以上です。
聞くってことがベースになってるってことね。日本のエデュケーションで。
Right. And so here is the pure example from Canada. If you study English language like this in Juku and in Kaiwa in Japan, it's fine. Nobody will ask you how much you understand. You just listen. Now, land in Vancouver, BC, land in Ontario, Toronto, land in Calgary, Alberta. Go ahead and try to do listening. Try to do listening only in English class in Canada. You're not gonna survive even one day. Because nobody will pretend. Nobody will pretend. わかる？みんなわかる？大丈夫ですか？And everybody's like, 顔の雰囲気ははてなはてなはてなはてな、何もわからない。本当に顔の雰囲気はいっぱいはてな出てますけど、生徒さんたちは大丈夫です。That will not fly in Canada. It will not fly. This is impossible. People will be like, okay, Yoko, okay, Tanaka-san, okay, Kobayashi-san, okay, Yamamoto-san, please tell me how you understood. And it will be digging. It will be digging because it's called hearing out.
Listening じゃなくて hearing out とか。
You listen first, okay, fine. That's input, that's taking in the knowledge. But after listened, we don't know, nobody knows how your ears perceive any knowledge, any information, and how your brain digests. Nobody knows that. Nobody has a crystal ball. That's why you have a hearing out process. Please perform how you understood what you listened. Show me how much you understood from listening to what I just said. That's hearing. Japan is doing listening equals study. That's it. I have a student right now, currently here in November in 2024. We have a next class this weekend with Chiho-san. Chiho-san is sensei in Shogakko in Ibaraki-ken. And she said to me, just はっきりしっかり私の目に言ってた。リスニング勉強です。And I was like, we are living in two different planets.
なるほど。
We are not understanding each other here. Listening is a part of study. I agree. You're not wrong here. But when you say listening equals study, it's like you are saying 10% of something, you're missing 90%, and then you put the sign equal and you say this is study. No. There will never be agreement for that. And you have problems you can see problems of Japanese students studying English language in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, English-speaking Europe, Ireland, Scotland, England, and they are listening only, not because it's a language concept or Japanese culture concept. Like I said before, it's Japanese education concept that listening equals study. So that's just not even remotely enough. So listening is listening is another title.
So 最初の壁はこの態度、opportunity ね、モチベーション、リスニング、この態度が最初の壁ってことね。
はい。これは1番目壁。でも、すべての壁は3つです。これは1番目だけです。機会、やる気、リスニング。これは態度の壁。これは英語全く触らなくて、この壁は一番最初は倒れなければならないです。なんか破らなければならないです。2番目壁いこうか。
お願いします。
Alright, so let me just please switch here. And so this is what we're talking basically, that this is too passive, right? So everybody is doing this in a passive way. But this is first kabe. Now, the second kabe is this. It's basically in English, you would say ego. You would say ego. 自己中心的な態度ですね。So here's the example. You know, I'm meeting a lot of people online. I don't want to talk any of the specific, you know, online platform and stuff. But I don't want to use any names. But I talk to people every day here in Japan, and the Japanese who are during working holiday in Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. I even talk to people who just came back from 2 years in New Zealand, and they're back in Japan and different cities. And I'm offering, just sharing, like we are talking here. And they make conditions.
What kind of conditions?
So very first, very classic example is this. You talk to somebody online and they say, everybody says, I would like to improve my speaking. I'm like, okay, great. So let's speak. And I'm offering, let's meet on Zoom, let's meet on Skype. Japan has very popular Line. Everybody has a Line account. I'm in Japan, I have a Line as well. So let's meet on the Line. I'll give you 10-15 minutes. And we can do English diagnostics. You can show me your English, you know, abilities after 2 years in New Zealand, or after 1 year in Australia, or you came back from Vancouver. I'm from Canada. Let's talk about Canada. And 90% of people I talk like this, they say, テキストでも大丈夫ですか？
話したくないってこと？こういうふうに顔を見てってこと？
Yeah. Or they say,一番最初はちょっとテキストメッセージやり取りたいなんですけど、大丈夫ですか？ And I understand, especially women, right? Because there's a lot of creepy guys, both in Canada and in Japan. I understand the social problems, and the media is kind of Wild West.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. I'm not talking about women only. Men are talking to me and saying, I'm shy. I'm shy. You know, I'm not good about speaking. So first I want to improve my speaking by text messaging, by texting. Let's have a conversation by texting. That's making condition. 条件を作る。
これはしたくないけど、これはするみたいな感じで決めちゃってるってことか、最初に。
Right. And this is just one example. There's just one example. But there are lots of examples when a lot of Japanese, for instance, they say, I would like to talk about many topics. Okay, let's talk. And I meet them and they say, 自己紹介。 自己紹介いいですか? I'm like, yeah, please go ahead. So they do the 自己紹介. And then after 自己紹介, ask me question. これは条件を作る。
何々をしてってことね。
So basically they have this image that text messaging equals the same thing. Like you and me, we are seeing each other. I see your face, you see my face, and you actually can read more than just listen to my words that I pronounce in English language.
Sure, because I can see your face, so how you move your face, right?
Well, we will get to that a little bit deeper in a minute, but here is my point. The Japanese don't understand, the Japanese who study English language, they don't understand that they come from very, very input culture, and they have this dream, they have this omoikomi, they have this genso about I will improve English language and I will be speaking fluently English language on my conditions, on my terms. So for instance, I'm not comfortable looking at the stranger. So I don't want to do video call. I want to do only voice message. So I will record the voice message for 1, 2, 3 minutes, and I will listen to this voice message. Or now, I'm not comfortable with my English pronunciation because I have very, for example, a lot of Japanese say I have very samurai eigo, katakana eigo. So I have very strong a-i-u-e-o accent in English language. I don't want to touch that. So I will improve my English speaking by texting messages first. And when, this is another condition, when I feel very comfortable with my vocabulary, when I will master 3,000, 5,000 words in English, then I will make another condition, third one, then I will start inviting people to speak to me. That's joken o tsukuru. I make condition. That's ego. That's not learning English. Let me flip the situation. 日本語で言ったら、このようななんかやばい想像なんですけど、でもイメージができますか？小学生とか中学生、あるいは大人の方、大学生、日本の大学入って、教授の前に教室の中で、教授先生に条件を作る生徒さん、イメージができますか？教授さん、今日は私はテキストメッセージだけやりたいです。教授さんの声のは10分ぐらいだけ聞き取りたいなんですけど、10分の後で、あとは私は教授さんの顔の雰囲気は見たくないんですけど、俺の進歩のためにあんまり欲ではなさそうことだと思いますが、これは俺の条件です。はい、どうぞ、声の始めてください。私は待ってます。小学校の、学生ですね。なんか先生に、今日は私の条件やりたいのことは、まず、おにぎり食べながら先生に、あとは私ちょっとなんかジュースを飲みながら先生に聞きたいです。おにぎり食べなかったら私は、授業に集中したくないんです。私のために一番大事はおにぎりを食べながら、先生、あとは飲んでから先生に聞いてもいいかもね。どうしようかな。この条件作る生徒さんたちは、ちびたちの幼稚園、保育園から、大学の教育まで、この条件は日本の教育はイメージができますか？
もちろんないよね。そういうふうに言う人
だからなんで日本人は英語を勉強するときは、なんか英語のことについて条件を作る。じゃあ頭の位置が読んじゃってみたいみんなですか？
多分きっといろんな英語の学び方がたくさんあってチョイスがたくさんあると思ってるんじゃない？
言い訳でございます。もしよろしければ。It's very interesting that you are saying this, and I really appreciate that because let's make a side you see, there's a lot of things here to unpack, but I don't want to miss anything. And if you want to talk about, freedom, right? The Japanese imagination about freedom in English language, we really should make another podcast focus only about this because it's going really deep in the rabbit hole. But ちょっと深掘りの話題でも他のポッドキャストをやっていただいたらものすごい嬉しいです。本当に首を長くしてます。So, but shortly on this, because I don't want to miss it. This is another, I wouldn't say 言い訳, I wouldn't say 思い込み, I would say 幻想。日本人の英語のことに対して幻想、illusion. So I'm trying to put my finger on that. So here's my again, based on my 17 years, based on my years living and working in Japan, my hypothesis, okay, my presumption. So Japan is a country, and you are from here. So if I am, misrepresenting something, you can stop me or confirm if I am vaguely correct.
Sure. Yeah.
So Japan is a country with a lot of regulations, a lot of rules, culture rules, social rules. Like even if you compare to Western countries, we would always call Japan even over-regulated country. Very clean, very polite, but a lot of rules, way more strict rules and too many rules on everything than you have in Canada. And because of that, I work with 20, 30 years old young Japanese in Vancouver who are coming to Canada for working holiday. And I see their excitement about, I want to be free. I want to finally be able to say no, because I cannot say that in Japan, right? People don't say yeah in Japan, at least not commonly. So, women, young 20, 25, 30 years old women, they're really excited and happy in Canada because it's like, I'm a woman in Canada and my opinion is important in Canada, as opposed to Japanese danson johin, where women must respect men and women's opinion is not equal to men's opinion, even in 2024, right? And so I understand this assumption, but I'm sorry for saying this. This is Japanese illusion. This is Japanese illusion that, okay, I'm tired of Japan, and before I'm going to get married, before I become salaryman and find myself a wife, before I become a housewife and start giving a birth to babies, and I'm gonna be locked in the house, I want to feel freedom, so I'm going to go for working holiday to Australia or Canada for 1 year. And, even before going to Australia or Canada, I'm going to start learning English. And it's English. It's a beacon of freedom. It's not Japanese language. So it means there is a lot of freedom, a lot of ways of learning English language. You can choose whatever way you want to learn language. There are a million ways, and there is it's freedom. English language, it's freedom. So I will have the freedom language and then go to much better place than Japan, because it's so much freedom we don't have in Japan. So freedom, right? いや、そうじゃなくて。いや、そうじゃなくて、英語もルールがある。
そうね。
It's same like Japanese language. I cannot choose how I want to write katakana or hiragana. I cannot choose how I can use Japanese grammar. I cannot, look, I'll speak to you like this. あゆみさんを、ここからも、とてもいろいろな、かっこいい、ことが、とても優しくますので、一緒にいろんな、
何言ってるか
やばい
分かんない
こと
もんね。
ちょっと待って、私は今日本語喋れる。やばいことだからもののは、限り、すごいこと一緒にお願い、どうぞ、ね、かたじけない。I just spoke Japanese words with my freedom, with my freedom, with my 思い込み, with my 幻想. I'm free. I said Japanese words. 何を理解できますか？
何もだけ。ただ言葉だけ、まだ言葉だけつなげてるだけで、ルールがないってことでしょ？い
や、でもフリードムがある。
でもルールはないし。
こんな感じですね。So that's just a small digression here about, well, the Japanese have this imagination, this illusion that there are many ways of learning English language and everything goes and everything is okay and you can improve English, making your conditions. If I want to make my conditions how I want to learn Japanese language, 石の上にあとは300年ぐらいかかる。
そうね。
Okay, so let's go back to this second wall, because that was just a digression about freedom in English language from Japanese perspective. So yes, I have this sneaky hint, this sneaky assumption, this sneaky feeling that the Japanese don't realize that they make too many conditions, and they shoot their they shoot their own food, we say in English. They shoot their own food with making conditions. Like, I want to improve English language speaking per se, specifically speaking. That's why please do the text messages with me. Sorry, that's not gonna fly. And it's not about your freedom. So let me give you a pinch, a smidgen of linguistic and psycholinguistic, very basic knowledge here. 60% of human communication is 顔雰囲気、体の構え、手動き方. So body language, we say in English, your facial expressions, your hand gestures, your position, the way how you carry yourself and how you present yourself. That's not even words. But to understand this, and this is 60%, you need to have a visual contact. You need to see the person.
Yes, like this, yeah.
Right. So the second part is 30%, and this is sound.
So
sound like oto. Like, I'll give you a simple example in Japanese language. If I say 嘘つく、あゆみさんはここで嘘つく。So you know from my voice that I think you're lying. But if I say 嘘、嘘、
驚いてるってことね。
You know I am surprised. And you know I am surprised not because I texted you this message. From text, you cannot hear the sound. And from text, you cannot see the facial impression. So you are losing 90% of meaning using only text. 60% is visual. Yeah, 60% is visual communication. That's why human beings, they have eyes in front of the head, on the face. We have eyes because it's our radar. Are you friendly to me? Are you sarcastic? Are you sad? Are you happy? Are you serious? I can judge you just by looking at you. And we judge everything, everywhere, 24/7. We judge even in our dreams. So 60% is a visual, just seeing somebody before they even open up their mouth. Then 30% is sound. That's 90%. And guess what? The last part, 10%, is language, the words. So when the Japanese person gives me condition, okay, I would like to improve my speaking English skills and let's text message only. They are already able to. They are shooting their own food, but in Japanese you will say 自分の首絞める, because I am suggesting them, hey, let's meet online. So I can see you, I can hear you, and I can speak to you. I'm giving you 100%, but the Japanese are making condition. No. I would like to improve my speaking by using 10%. じゃあ、いってらっしゃい、頑張ってください。石の上にあとは3000年かかるかもしれない。So this is the part of the, and this is just first point, right? This is the Japanese making conditions about how they want to study English language. Again, have you ever seen Japanese university student making condition to the professor in the university? Have you ever seen high school student making conditions? To, right? Anyways, that's the first ego problem. 自己中視的な態度の問題ね。Okay, number 2. Let's move on. I cannot admit my mistakes. That's a huge problem. I hear most of the Japanese students who have been studying English for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. They already went, to Australia for a year, or they've been to the Philippines and they studied English. I just had a conversation yesterday with this guy who came back from the Philippines, and he said, my teacher in the Philippines said that, English grammar is not important if I want to make music.
The most important thing is
or another example, again, I don't want to say the name. I had this Japanese guy who spent 1 year in the USA, and we don't know each other. He started texting me, and then we finally meet online. And the very first thing, he sees my face, and he's like, "What up, yo?"
Oh.
What up, yo? First time we see each other. What up, yo? What up, yo? I'm well, thank you. How are you doing? and then because we see each other, so again, he sees my facial expression. I'm not comfortable with that. He hears my tone of voice, and he says, but all Americans say like this. Why are you uncomfortable? All Americans are saying like this. Well, maybe, all Japanese say omae, and I am not Japanese. I know the word omae. I know what it means, and I see also in manga and anime a lot of words like chinchin, oppai, unchi, omae, and I understand the meaning, but I am not born and raised in Japan. I'm not Japanese native speaker, so I don't know specific situation, and I don't know specific condition when I can say omae and it's funny or it's jokey, or I don't have the meticulous understanding how to use it. Like, I hear Japanese are using, oh, omae kore yatteru, and everybody is laughing on Japanese TV. But I'm not gonna use it unless I know really, really, really correct situation. And the situation here is the guy is meeting me for the first time. online, he sees me, he hears me, and he says, "What up, yo? You're my homie from the hood, dude." Well, I don't know. Like, I don't meet people in Japan, and Ayumi, I don't meet your father and say, "Ora, じいちゃん、元気だよ。お前は今日は何してたの?" I could say that to your father. Do I say that? Have you ever heard me saying that to you? Right? So a lot of Japanese cannot admit their mistakes. They kind of put themselves, I spent 1 year in the US, so I am the same like Americans. I spent working holiday 1 year and then I extended. I've been 2 years in Vancouver. So now I am Canadian. I know exactly the same. I spent 2 years in Canada and I'm 26 years old. So I know exactly the same like person who was born and raised for 26 years in Canada. We are 同じ年、同じ世代。私は日本人2年間、この人は5、10、15、20、25、26年間。Yeah, but you know, yeah, all Canadians speak like this. So, but all Americans speak like this. So, but my Filipino teacher 2 weeks ago told me that grammar is not important if I want to make music in English. 面白いね。So this is another ego attitude. The Japanese will learn something. And then if it's a mistake, they cannot admit it's a mistake because I already spent a year in US or 2 months in the Philippines, 2 years in New Zealand, 1 year in you know, Australia. Really is 1 year enough? Don't we all learn all our lives, right? So this is not even English language. This is attitude. Ego problem. They cannot admit their mistakes. That's number 2. And if you cannot admit your mistakes, how can you progress?
確かにそうだよね。間違いをしないと成長はしないもんね。
これは本当に自分の首を絞めるの問題です。なんか、ちょっとなんか別の話なんですけど、正直に日本でなんか敵は日本人の一番大変な間違いは日本人の一番大変な敵ですね。もうカナダで我々はみんな間違いは我々の一番いいお友達と考えてます。
間違わないと成長しないもんね。
そうそう、その通りです。その一心伝心、その通り。そう思います。自分の間違いは気づかなくて、直さなくて、なんか昨日やってたのことと今日は上達の距離は見ることができないです。
そうだね。
So that's another thing this is a big difference between Japan and Canada education per se. So that's and again, we're not even touching English language. This is just ego attitude, right? That's number 2. Now here's and this is second kabe. We have a number 2 here. This is second kabe only, but it's the third kabe. And then it's the real English. Okay, let's keep going. So number 3, I cannot admit I have wasted years. This is heavy. This is heavy because I understand the feelings of the Japanese students. You know, what's the Japanese English language education in Japan? 7 years from junior high school to university, right? What is it? 2 times a week. Okay, simple math. 7 years, 2 times a week. I don't know how many hours they study, but I read in some reports that roughly it's like 790 hours altogether. If you study almost 800 hours, if you spend 7 years of your English education and you go to Canada or you go to Europe and you cannot hold the conversation, then you feel your 7 years are wasted.
Definitely.
But what if you are an English teacher in Japan and you're Japanese native speaker, but you are English teacher in Japan, but you cannot speak English. Story of my life. I did JETA program when I was 150 years ago, when I was younger and handsome. I did JETA program 2 times in Japan, and I was called ALT, Assistant Language Teacher, because, you know, there's like this very not popular kind of 上から目線名前、なんかぴょんぴょんする猿。So we are like jumping monkey.
Jumping monkey.
We're jumping monkey, and there's a real English language teacher who is a Japanese person. And so we are supposed to give example with English pronunciation and in a context, write it, and like make kind of situational drama. So like make like a case where the sentence, the phrase, what situation it's used. But the main English teacher, who's a Japanese person, actually cannot speak English. That person, in their free time, or they will take a leave and they will go to Canada for working holiday, or just, you know, working visa, or just travel, and they try to use their English. And they've been learning English for X number of years, and they've been teaching English language for X number of years. They come to English spoken country for the first time, and they realize they cannot speak English. But they realize they cannot accept, they cannot admit, but they realize they wasted years.
That's for sure.
That's a problem, and it's not much of the, well, it is an ego problem, but it's kind of like sad, very passive ego problem that, you know, if you are, let's say, 30 years old and you realize you wasted 10 years for your English, and you are now in Australia or New Zealand or England or Canada, and you cannot speak English, but you are teaching English for like 5 years, but you cannot speak English. How does it make you feel? 自分の人生の3分の1はもったいないだった。お気持ちは
意味がなかったって思っちゃうもんね。
Right? So it's a huge problem. I have more examples that I'm gonna just stay away from right now here, just for purpose of recording here. But I have some heavy examples about Japanese language, Japanese native speaker who are English language teachers. I have a ton of examples from my JETA program, and even Korean teachers, Korean native speakers, Korean came to Canada, and they were teaching English language for 24 years in Canada, and came to Canada.
In Canada, right? She's teaching 25 years in Korea, right?
Korean lady teaching English language for 24 years in Korea, and then came to Vancouver, kind of justify her English or level up. Sorry, level up. That was my hand hitting the computer. You know, leveling up her English, or just, you know, I don't know what she was thinking, but yeah, she had a very dramatic confrontation of English reality with her imagination that she speaks English. And you know, it's not a rare, those cases are not rare. Those cases are actually happening, unfortunately, quite often. So there you go. This is your second kabe. Most of the Japanese, they make conditions, like you said. Because English is free, so there are different ways. Most Japanese, they want to make conditions how I want to study English. Most of the Japanese will not admit they made mistakes, or they've made mistakes. And if you cannot admit your mistakes, how can you progress? And most of the Japanese, both students and teachers, they have wasted some years of learning English language, not because they are wrong, but the English education in Japan is set up and I'm sorry to say that, but I'm using this word seriously. But Japanese education is set up in a bad way. And the Japanese, both educators, teachers, students, and adults, they all know that. They all know that. There is a lot of evidence in everyday life when you talk to people. I just had yesterday a conversation with one lady who just recorded a message to me, and I quote her words. She said, I had a conversation with a customer in my company and I was embarrassed and I don't want to go back Juku or Eikaiwa in Japan because, and again, double quote, she says, English education in Japan, Juku and Kaiwa is useless, unquote. So if the Japanese native speaker who wants to learn English language speaks like this about, Juku or Eikaiwa, again, I don't know everybody from Okinawa to Hokkaido. I don't know 130 million Japanese, but it's a problem. It's a problem. So this is Kabe number 2. Shall we move to Kabe number 3?
Sure, please.
So yeah, this is Kabe number 2. And remember when I said that Kabe number 1 is passive?
Yes,
I'm waiting for opportunity passively. I'm waiting for motivation passively, and I'm listening passively. Those two things the second Kabe we're talking about, the Japanese are doing actively. That's the worst thing. The second Kabe is worse because Japanese actively make conditions, actively don't admit mistakes, and they actively don't admit they wasted time. So that's bad.
本当だったら逆がいいってことだよね。
いや、違いです。逆だけではなくて、1番目壁は破れるように、機械はアクティブのまま作らなければならないです。やる気もアクティブの方法、やるより仕方がないです。リスニングはパッシブのアクションなんですけど、でも、リスニングはいつも聞き取れる。ヒーリングアウトと一緒につなげてる。ヒーリングアウト、アウトプットです。これもアクティブのままです。これはアクティブのままやってて大事です。2番目の壁破るのはパッシブではなくて、でも条件を作らないようにアクティブ、この悪い習慣に破れてください。アクティブままでこの条件を作らないようにこの悪い習慣に破れてください。あとは自分の間違い。わかる。俺も自分の間違いみんなの前に認めたくないんですけど、でも何をもっと欲しいですか？間違いを隠れてる？間違いやってない不利のことですか？あるいは上達したいですか？俺は上達選びたい。なので、アクティブままで自分の間違いのことについて冗談としてとか、例えとか比べ物過去にやってもったのことについて、自分の間違いのことについてアクティブままで話したいです。これはアクティブままです。パッシブではない。あとは、俺の人生も何ヶ月、何年かぐらいいろんなことを破れちゃった、潰しちゃってやられたですね。たくさん人間の自然的な部分は間違いです。やってもった何年間いろんなことはたくさん例えがあります。これもアクティブままでメリットとして使った方がいいと思います。だから1番壁はアクティブまま直して、2番目壁、アクティブまま直して、今は3番目壁、お願いします。Okay, so the Japanese style English, and it's very interesting because I've been talking about this for years, I swear to God, for years. And even in 2024, when I want to talk to somebody about who finally agrees, let's meet online, let's meet on Zoom, let's meet on Skype. I talk to somebody and I say, 英語はどういうふうに勉強してますか? And then the Japanese are kind of confused because for them 勉強は勉強です。勉強は聞くです。 どういうことですか? So then I'm asking them, so do you study English language Japanese way or do you study English different way? And again, 日本っぽい英語やっていらっしゃいますか？どういうふうに英語を勉強してますか？英語っぽい英語の方法を勉強してますか？And they're confused. So when they say, usually what they say is, 自力から言葉を引いて、シャドーイングして、みんなはほとんどめっちゃはっきり顔雰囲気はめっちゃ笑ってまま、なんか、暗記です。逆に、暗記は好きですか？嫌いではないですけど、っていうのはどういう意味ですか？好きじゃないですね。だからなんでそんな笑ってる？暗記。自分の首絞めるのことじゃないですか？ So, this is the Japanese style English. 暗記、復習、シャドーイング、詰め込む、覚える。And so, this is the third壁, because nobody is doing this in English language, only in Japan. Like, I can give you example very quickly that just destroys completely everything about the Nihonpo Eigo. So most of the people in Japan, when it comes to English, they study only 3 parts. So they study vocabulary and they do oboeru, ankisuru. So the funny thing about this, that they memorize vocabulary without context. So just technically try to pour the dictionary meaning to their head. They don't focus on context. So they are memorizing vocabulary. But that's not, I'm not even talking about Western way. I'm talking about proper linguistic science way. That's not even linguistic science to approach vocabulary in any language on planet Earth. Just
Without
memorize
context.
the meaning from dictionary. Why? Because we are human beings. We are not dictionaries. We are not robots.
Yes.
We don't do languages like this. Even our mother tongues, we are not doing like this. Right? So, but then the second part the Japanese are learning in English language is grammar. And guess what?
Yes.
The Japanese study English grammar. How? Anki. Oboeru. Well, so that begs the question. I'm sorry, is vocabulary and English grammar the same?
No, it's different.
Right? And most Japanese will answer like you. They will say, no. Grammar is the rules. It's how to build the sentences, which is right. And vocabulary is just words, right? Words, phrases, connotations of the words and morphology, semantics, pragmatics, all this stuff. We'll get in a minute to that. But that's your vocabulary part. So if you know that vocabulary and grammar is not the same, why do you use the same technique? You see, I asked this question for the first time to my Japanese students in Canada in 2009. In 2009. 15 years ago, I asked exactly the same question. In Vancouver, I was sitting in Vancouver Public Library on Robson Street, and I had a bunch of Japanese students, and we had like English diagnostics, and I said exactly the same thing. If you know, I said in Japanese and I said in English, if you know you have English vocabulary and English grammar, and those two parts are different, why do you use the same technique to study two different parts? Why do you do that? And 15 years ago, they didn't have an answer. Guess what? Yesterday, I was talking with another Japanese student here online in Japan in 2024. 15 years later, I asked the same question. And I got the same answer. 本当だ。なんでかな？
考えたことがないってことだよね。
So that's the point. And then there's the third part, listening. The Japanese study vocabulary, grammar, and listening. Right? How do they study listening? Anki. You listen and you memorize what somebody tells you. Whether it's a record, tape, or CD, or something online. Do you know in 2024 in JETA program, people still use tape recorders and CDs? And small parts in Japan. If you go to remote places in Shikoku or Tohoku, or like if you go, Miyazaki Ken in Kyushu, Hirosaki, Aomori, Ehime, Kochi, Shikoku. Oh yeah. So it's very present, and so that's why I'm saying Japanese style English. So that's just not working.
Okay, that's the 3番目の壁ってことね。
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay.
Any questions here?
大丈夫ですよ。この3つの壁がない方がいいってことだよね。この壁が邪魔になってるのかな？
そうですね。この壁は消したら本当の英語は始まるです。今のすべての話は本当の英語の話ではなくて、英語の勉強前の問題です。この3つ壁です。これは3番目、最後の壁。その後で本当の英語始まります。いこうか？これは消してください。この後で、すべてのイメージは、これは壁ですね。
待って、画面が変わらないかもしれない。あ、来た。3つの壁。
見えますか？
見える。
大丈夫ですか
？1番目が態度、2番目が自己中心的な態度、3番目が日本っぽい英語。この3つの壁ってことね。
ぜひこの壁を破れてください。早ければ早くほどお願いします。俺の親権は、貸してあげます。僕とあります。しないもあります。あとはなぎなた必要だったらぜひぜひ連絡してください。渡します。斧も持ってます。全部は戦国時代武器はあげます。壁破れてください。OK。次。これは本物英語です。3つの壁破れてから、これは本当の英語です。俺の意見ではないです。俺の商売スピーチではないです。これをぜひ、慶応大学、九州大学、福岡で、東京外国語大学、言語科学の、学部で、ぜひ研究してください。茨城県の筑波大学、北海道大学、ぜひ行ってらっしゃい。早稲田大学、両方、上野の近いのキャンパスとか、所沢の埼玉キャンパス、ぜひ言語科学で基本的な言語科学の知識によると、研究して調査していただいたら、本物言語。
インプットが 20%、アウトプットが 80%。
Right. So, but before this, did you notice how I said just before that the Japanese are learning 3 parts in English? Did you notice how I said vocabulary, grammar, and listening?
前の動画でね、
look how many parts we have here.
7個
7, right?
Yes.
So the Japanese are not even learning half of what's the real English language. And I would risk,どうぞ。
これ一つずつどんなことなの？プラグマティックス、セマンティックス、シンタックス。
じゃあ簡単な言葉いきます。1番目、プラグマティックスっていうのことは、実用的な言葉の使い方。簡単な言葉で、言葉の字引の意味の裏に文化の意味と社会的の意味です。
そうね、あるね。
これはプラグマティックス。 Okay?
Okay.
じゃあ、2番目のやつはセマンティクス。セマンティクスは言葉の意味。これはものすごい面白いことです。だから、日本人は自力から言葉を引いてて、このままで覚えて以上です。セマンティクスの中で、いろいろな技があります。ここで右の方で書いてあげるの、4つの基本的な、技があるなんですけど、でもセマンティクスの中で覚えるの技は全くないんです。ちなみに面白いのは、ちなみに面白いのは、文脈覚えるの技があります。
単語を覚える技、暗記する技じゃなくて、文脈を覚える技。
Yes, so here is the interesting thing. If you really want to improve English vocabulary or any language vocabulary, you shouldn't memorize words or you shouldn't collect words. Instead, you should memorize and you should collect context. 文脈、コンテキスト。じゃあもう一回、日本語で。本当の単語言葉覚えたかったら、上達たくさん伸びたかったら、正直に言葉の意味、言葉だけ覚えるの以外に、正直に文脈、コンテキスト集まってください。覚えてください。このままで一石二鳥、単語言葉もどんどん上がっちゃう。
なるほど。Okay.
That's semantics.
次のsyntax.
Syntax, yes, syntax. It's just a fancy linguistic word to say grammar. So, syntax のは文章のルール、他の言葉で文法の、技です。面白いのは文法の技は3つ技があるんです。英語の文法の場合は3つ技しかいない。この3つの技の中から、覚えるのことは暗記は2つ、0で。And then you have morphology. Morphology というのことは、単語構成の仕組みですね。簡単な言葉で、なんていう、言葉の作り方。
言葉がどうやって作られているか、単語がどうやって作られているか。
ちなみになんか面白い例えですね。どうして、なぜ日本人は、カナダとかオーストラリアで、ワーホリ途中でたまになんか、フランス人とかフランスとかフランス語言葉はいつも混ぜこぜしてる。あるいはドイツとかドイツ語、ドイツ人。いつも日本人はフランスとかドイツの友達、なんとか文脈出るときはいつもなんか、my friends, French from French. My French friends from friends. フランスから私のフランスの友達のことについて話したい。
いや、でもどっちがフレンチかどっちがフランスかが分からなくなっちゃうってことね。
いつも不思議なことです。なぜですか？答えます。モルフォロジーのことは一度もモルフォロジーに対して技は一度も触らなかった。俺の日本語は硬いことです。自分の耳も自分の間違いが聞こえます。ただ、俺はちょっとなんか俺様の感じやりたくないですけど、でも俺は基本的な日本語の言葉で日本、日本、日本語、日本の、日本っぽい、あるいは日本人、日本の方、日本の女子、日本の女の方、日本の男性。俺はこのような言葉の作り方は一度もほとんど間違いないんです。なぜですか？
作り方を学ぶのがこのモーフォロジー。マットはこれを知ってるってこと？
技です。そうです。あとは次はフォノロジー。これはやっぱり、音の仕組み、フォネティクス、音の学び方、なんか発音に対していろんな8個の部分ですね。これはこの6個部分は言語科学のすべての基礎です。日本語を勉強するときはこの6個。英語の勉強するときはこの6個。もう日本人は6個やらないです。あとは 7番目、最後は、ここで俺はこれつけた。なぜですか？さっき言ってた通りに、1番目壁覚えますか？1番目壁、最後のはリスニングです。 これは、日本の教育の問題です。これは言い訳ではない。これは、日本人の態度ではないです。これは日本の教育の問題です。So, like I was saying before, it's such a big problem in Japanese education that they don't recognize hearing out. They don't debate. They don't ask students, so how did you hear me out? So what did you understand from what I was telling you? Tell me, what did you understood? What did you understand from what I was talking? What did you hear? What did you listen to? What did you understand when you were listening to me? That is perform hearing out. So let me close it up here with this comparison. In Japan, for most of the people, listening equals study. But in the Western world, in linguistic science, listening is a small part of the study process, very small part. And let me show you how it works. First, you listen. You need to have the input, right? So you input what the teacher is telling you. So you listen. Second, you need to perform, because nobody is sitting inside of your brain and sees how you process what you listen. So the teacher will always check, and if teacher doesn't check, you have the duty, you have the obligation to show how you hear out. And hear out means perform output of what you listened. That's not the end. When you do that, so you did listening, you did hearing out, so you repeat the knowledge you listened to. The teacher says, okay, you understood what I said. You repeat exactly what I just taught you. Great. Now, show me, manifest the habit. Manifest the habit, number 3. So show me how you will use the knowledge you listened to, the knowledge you show me you heard out, you understood. Show me that you will use your environment, your example, your real life example, and you will incorporate, you will use this new knowledge in your life situation, in your life example. Show it to me. When you show that, and then you continuously apply this, then it becomes habit. So habit is number 4. Because studying something, we don't study just to understand. We don't study just to listen. We don't study just to repeat to the teacher. Study means get the new knowledge and go to the world and use it as a skill for your life. And so studying in Western world means comprehensive listening, comprehensive hearing out, manifest your habit, and then perform in the world.
So
That's
4
study.
process, that's the
4
that's
parts.
Part.
4 parts in this 4 parts in this definition that you call study. But you know, in Japan, listening equals study. That's not enough. It's not enough for English. So there you go. That's the 7 parts, and this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. This is just the first step. This is how you're supposed to start English language.
全然違うね。
よろしくお願いします。
そう、じゃあ最初はさっきの3つの壁を壊してないと、壊さないとというか壊して、そして英語を学んでいくってことね。
そうです。この最初の一番、態度の、壁、2番目、自己中心的な、態度、あとは日本っぽい3番、日本っぽい英語3番目壁、消したら、その後で本当の英語の、勉強の一歩です。初めです。
ってことは、よく英語を勉強していて、続かなかったりとか、途中で諦めちゃったりとか、難しいって感じるのは、この3つの壁にぶつかってるってことだよね。
そうですね。その通りです。
それを一つずつ
合ってると
倒してい
思います。
けば、それを一つずつ倒していったら、英語は簡単ってことだよね。なんかそういう感じがするんだけど。
そうです。ここちょっとなんか、もう一回なんか深掘りここで、あゆみさんのなんか、ここで部分でつながってでも深掘り行きたくないなんですけど、もうちょっと1時間以上ぐらい話してるなんですけど、正直に、この3つ壁を破れなかったら、英語を諦めやすいだけではなくて、まず、英語はそんな難しくない、見えない。
難しくないっていうのがすら見えないってことか。
なんで日本人は英語は難しいですと思っちゃう？これは本当
この
に
壁があるか
答えやすいです。
ら。
3つの壁です。でももっと詳しい答えは、誰か7年間ぐらい何か英語だけではなくて、7年間ぐらい何かやったら、結局に自分の目で私は上手になることができないんだったら、このアクティビティどう思ってますか？あなたは下手くそです。あ、ごめんなさい。あなたは下手です。あなたは下手です。テニスは7年間ぐらいやってください。7年間の後でいつも負ける。いつもボールは合ってないです。どう思いますか？続けたいです。もちろん諦めちゃう。じゃあ、ダイビングは、あるいは、いや違う、今は沖縄にいるなんですけど、みんなは波が高いだから、みんなはサーフィングやってるね。じゃあ、サーフィング何年間、毎回7年間ぐらい、なんか、厳しい、激しい波によって倒れれる。いつもなんかサンゴぶつかる。7年間続けたいですか
7年ずっと歌で続けてるってこと
でしょ、じゃあ、やだ。俺はなんか7週間やってみたら、痛すぎる、なんかバランスは取らないんだったら諦めます。なので、日本人は7年間ぐらい、英語の3つ壁続けたら、まさかに結局に7年間後で、英語は難しいですね。じゃあ、逃げてる。
そうなっちゃう。
But they are not even touching English language. This is not even touching English language. This is just constant banging in like 壁1, 壁2, 壁3. じゃあ諦めます。But it's not even English. Look, we didn't say anything today about how to study English vocabulary. We didn't say anything about how to study English grammar, how to do English hearing out. We never even touch English speech skills or output English culture techniques. But the beautiful thing about English language is this. If you destroy the three kabe, if you can avoid those three kabe, if you can admit, stop making conditions, admit your mistakes, be active about opportunity, be active about motivation, change listening to listening and hearing out, then guess what? You can, it doesn't take even a year. We're not talking about 12 months. We are talking about 3-4 months. I know cases of people who are studying with us without Kabe. No Kabe 1, no Kabe 2, no Kabe 3, 2 months, and they master English grammar.
ってことは、それだけこの壁は、あれってことか、英語上達に、すごく邪魔な壁ってことだよね。
悪い習慣、頭の中で逃げてるの気持ちがないし、悪い習慣がないし、本当になんかカナダ人だからフランス語の比べ物です。 白い紙の毛。白い紙。フランス語で、carte blanche. So white piece of paper. Nothing is written. Nothing is written on white piece of paper. So what does it mean? No bad experience. No mistakes written. No, illusion. No assumption. No, no bad things. No conditions. Just accept correct knowledge and correct techniques. 2-3 months, 4 max 6 months. You're bilingual. You go from zero to daily conversation, communication, and you don't need to memorize.
So it's really, really important to destroy all those 3 壁s.
It's very important to look honestly at yourself. Look honestly about yourself before you even touch English language. You need to know what do you do wrong. And that's not even English language. That's Kabe number 1. You need to know what do you do, what's your attitude that it's wrong. That's Kabe number 2. And you need to know how you do things wrong. And that's Kabe number 3. That's Anki suru, oboeru, shadowingu, tsumekomu, fukushu. That's just wrong technique. That's wrong way of doing things. When you destroy that and you apply carte blanche, right? White piece of paper, nothing written on it, right? Shiroi kami. And then you apply right techniques. Of course you're gonna progress faster, and of course it's gonna be clean, and no memorization. No memorization necessary. That's it.
じゃあ今英語を勉強してるけど壁にぶつかってる人はちょっとこの壁を壊してもらって勉強する必要があるってことだね。
そうですね。今はなんか、壁がある壁を作る人は、自分の壁中に自分と一緒に、話してください。
そうだね。自分にこの壁があるかどうかね。
ちょっとだけではなくて、すべての壁、消してください。だから、はい、わかりました。一番壁消しました。続きましょう。自分ではない。良いではないです。はい、わかりました。一番壁も二番も、倒れました。うまくいったですけど。はい、良いです。始まります。No, it's still not good enough. It's not, don't make conditions. Don't make conditions. I will erase first kabe and the second kabe, and then I will be no condition. You don't go to the school, you don't go to your teacher and you make conditions. And look what's happening with the Japanese students in Canada. Japanese students in Japan, this is another interesting part. Japanese students in Japan, they actually make more conditions about English language. But the Japanese students who are in Canada, in Australia, in English-spoken countries for working holiday, they don't make so many conditions.
Why? They don't have a choice.
They don't have a choice because it's English reality, English spoken country.
Yeah, English reality hit them, so they don't have choice.
So that's why I'm saying. That's why I'm saying we're not talking about English today. We're talking about people attitude and ego about before even touching English language. You want to improve English? You really want to speak English in 2, 3, 4 months, 6 months? Sure, it's possible. Get rid of your attitude. Get rid of your ego. Get rid of admit all your mistakes and all your wasteful time. Then we can talk. Then I can give you English in 3, 4 months if you want, improve fast. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. It's long, eh? It's more than 1 hour.
An hour and a half. Yeah, but that's a good talk. Yeah, I hope everybody will enjoy that. Okay.
Yes.
Till the next time. Thank you very much.
Yes. Bye.